You're listening to the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring attorney, guest, and former felony prosecutor Eric Faddis.
Evidence in a murder case. Anyone will tell you, even people who just simply watch Dateline passively could probably tell you. It's those first few days, it's those first few hours that are critical in trying to determine who did this, what's going on, what happened. Everything matters. What's found at the scene, the people who are interviewed, those testimonies that are given, those are key pieces, especially in a case that goes cold for many, many years. And you go back to it and you're trying to figure out who played what role in what piece here. That's precisely what happened in the case of the Delphi murders. Eventually, they charged a man who raised his hand 4 years prior and said, hey, I was over there. I was hiking that day. How can I help? Many years later, they said, hey, we're gonna pin this on you. It's you. Oh, and by the way, everybody else we interviewed, yeah, we accidentally taped over that. It's all gone. But I think the piece that gets me the most, Eric Faddis, defense attorney who's joining us, is the fact that they taped over everything, and now they're sitting here saying, it's no big deal. Not evidence at all related to the case. And that's a quote. Not evidence at all related to the case. Interviews that they did with people who were potential suspects. Information is gone. These people are not idiots. I mean, they have to know how asinine a statement like that is. Are they not?
Yeah, I mean, that statement was really kind of repugnant to me, coming from our government. Because, look, like you said, interviews with two, what some people have considered key suspects very early on, you better believe that is critical evidence. And while it might not matter for the state because it doesn't help their case, you better believe it matters for Richard Allen. And the fact that they just not only recorded over it, but issue this cavalier statement like, oh, you shouldn't care about it, doesn't matter, just really kind of gets me heated.
It just adds to the insanity of this whole thing of, well, if it doesn't go along with our narrative, it doesn't matter. I mean, they might as well have just said that in that statement, because that's essentially exactly what that means. And there's been so many issues with this case already involving trust, involving credibility, involving competency. So then to have this one come out, I don't know. I mean, and it seems like they had known this for quite a while. That's another piece that I'm taking a look at here going, why are we just discovering, or why is this just coming out now to the defense if this was recorded over in 2017? Why now are we just learning of this?
Yeah, that is the real question, right? Because the prosecution typically has a legal and ethical duty to disclose anything that could be considered what's called exculpatory or helpful for the defendant. Here we have these, and in terms of who decides what's exculpatory, it's not the prosecutor, it's not the government, it's the defense side. They're the ones who get to say, no, I think this is important and could help us. You need to give it to us. And it looks like this happened, almost a decade ago, this error, and they just kind of like kept it to themselves until it was found out. And now they're issuing this statement sort of absolving themselves by saying, oh, it's no big deal. And that compounds with all of the bizarre twists and turns that have happened in this case already.
It just keeps digging deeper and deeper with no real end in sight. The defense team for the Delphi murders, they want to question some of the investigators now about what the hell's going on here, and rightfully so. I mean, what sort of questions and where do you think that's going? What do they want to find out, and what sort of questions are they going to be asking?
I think they're going to ask about what the police department's policies are regarding evidence retention, regarding what they're supposed to do with recordings, and the failures that the government has made along that route. Not, violating their own policies. So I think that that's going to be a focus of the hearing, and also just asking, narrowing down exactly who was involved in these interviews and their overwriting or however it happened, whether the prosecutor was aware, whether the prosecutor gave any direction. I don't know that they did, but this information is going to come to light, hopefully, at this hearing. And I think the public wants to hear it.
One of the things that the prosecution has been arguing, saying, yeah, we recorded over it, but you can go interview them again. You can go, depose them and have another conversation. That's going to be a very different deposition today than it would have been the week of the murders, would it not?
A great point that, these folks, these alleged alternative key suspects have been tipped off. They know what's coming now. And so you better believe they're probably going to lawyer up. They're probably going to get their stories straight, talk amongst themselves, and ensure that they are not doing anything in any subsequent interview that could get them charged with murder. Whereas if they would have been talked to early on, they're probably more open about things, less on guard. So a subsequent interview does not cure this overwriting of the prior recordings of the interviews with these people.
How do you correct this? I mean, obviously you can't go back and, pull the tape. So what is this just where that ends? It's like, look, they lost it. They said there's nothing more they can do. Is that it?
The judge has several options. The judge could just dismiss the case outright against Richard Allen. The judge could issue an adverse jury instruction to the jury, or the judge could do nothing. I don't think it's going to lead to a dismissal. I think that's a little bit too strong. But I think what's likely to come is the judge instructing the jury on what's called spoliation, that the government destroyed this evidence, and you should, or you could, hold that against the government in their case. And you could infer that such evidence that was destroyed was actually harmful to the government's case. I think that's the likely outcome that the judge is going to choose.
Do you see Judge Gull doing that, though, considering it's Judge Gull?
Yeah, I guess I was saying judge in sort of a proverbial sense, but when we're talking about this judge who appears to have an axe to grind against Richard Allen, against his attorneys, against anyone on the defense side, I am unfortunately just not confident that judge is going to handle this in the appropriate way. It seems like there is some bias involved. There's been so many one-sided rulings that it just raises some eyebrows for legal commentators in terms of the fairness of these proceedings.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.